I think museums are vital institutions in any community, but they can also be spaces of overwhelming whiteness. And when a child of color goes into a museum, I think they can experience a sense of wonder at all of the art and the artifacts there, but they can also experience alienation, and that was certainly my experience as a Black child. I wrote Milo's Museum so that children know they can do something about the status quo. They don't just have to accept that they aren't being represented. Everyone deserves to have their story told and to see their culture and their community represented in a museum. So for Milo, when she doesn't see herself, when she looks into that mirror and doesn't find anyone that she recognizes, she makes her own museum. I was inspired to write Milo's Museum by a few things. The first was I met Vashti Dubois, who is the co-founder of the Colored Girls Museum in Philadelphia. And then the National Museum of African American History and Culture opened in Washington, D.C., and I had a chance to go there. But mostly I was inspired by my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, Florence Averill Allen Hobbs. And she identified as Negro or colored, but presented as white. And it would have been very easy for her to pass into whiteness, as so many of her siblings did. But my grandmother was very proud of her African ancestry, and she made a point of telling us stories about our family. She gave us photographs. I have a home that is full of heirlooms that I got from my grandmother. And I understand that the most important thing we can preserve when it comes to our ancestors is their story. I think it's really important that we don't look to institutions to open their doors to us. It would be nice, but we know from centuries of living in this country that we aren't always welcome. And I think we can continue to knock on that door and insist upon a seat at the table, but we can also just build our own institutions. That's what they did with the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And it was everyday African Americans, families who had held on to the treasured heirlooms passed down to them by their ancestors. We built that museum, right? We did it ourselves. And that's the message in Milo's Museum. I have this ancestor wall that I pass every day going in and out of my apartment that reminds me of the sacrifices that people made in order for me to live the life that I have today. And so if there's one thing I hope kids take away from Milo's Museum, it's that in order to honor our ancestors, we have to preserve their legacy. We have to keep telling the stories that they've told us, and we have to take care of the objects and the gifts that they've passed down to us. And that's what Milo's Museum really means to me.